It's time for Recipe of the Day. The middle of the week sometimes needs something a little special to get us through, and specialness is what I was trying to capture in today's recipe. And what makes things special more than bacon? And here we're doing a bacon wrapped chicken breast. And it's really just this thing where, you just take bacon and you take chicken and you wrap one in the other, and suddenly it becomes beautiful, incredible, and amazing, delicious, special, all the things that you want to celebrate. You know what I mean? Now, this recipe does just require the bacon and the chicken. You get so much flavor from the bacon, even saltiness, but there is a really, really delicious seasoning rub made from brown sugar, garlic powder, smoked paprika, salt, and pepper that you can also use in there. It adds a little bit of extra flavor, a little bit more deliciousness, a little bit more of that specialness, but it is optional. If you're in a hurry, just wrap in bacon and go. Okay, how do we make bacon wrapped chicken breasts? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is you can actually use chicken thighs if you want to. So the recipe is exactly the same, whether you use chicken breasts or chicken thighs. The only thing is, if you're using thighs, you want them to be in that little bundle. You know how when you get boneless, skinless chicken thighs, they often come in the package kind of like bundled around where the bone would have been. That's what you want. You want them to have that thickness from that bundle. If instead your thighs are sold like flat, or if you've undone that bundle, then they're going to be too flat. You're going to wrap the bacon around them and they're going to cook too quickly and dry out by the time the bacon cooks. As to your boneless, skinless chicken breasts, the ones called for in the recipe are 6 to 7 ounces each. If yours are those like honking huge ones that you get at the grocery store sometimes, you're going to want to cut those in half. I like to do it on the diagonal, that each half kind of still looks like a normal chicken breast with like a pointier side and a rounded side, and they're going to cook more like normal chicken breasts do. The only other thing that I'm going to say about the chicken is that you probably don't want to use the kind of frozen chicken that was like put in some kind of solution. Like if you have your fresh chicken that you brought home from the grocery store and then you froze it, that's going to be fine. Thaw it and then use it. But if it's the kind that has that solution in it, it's going to be kind of liquidy, and that liquid as it comes out of the chicken cooking is going to make it very hard for your bacon to crisp up. And that is really the key to this recipe, is how do you not overcook the chicken in the time that it takes the bacon to get crisp. And don't worry, I do have you covered on that. We are going to have nice crispy bacon on the top of these wrapped chicken pieces for sure. Okay, so that's everything you need to know about the chicken. What about the bacon? Now, the recipe itself calls for thin sliced bacon, and that's because that's the kind that's going to crisp up the best in the time that it takes your chicken to cook. However, if you use regular sliced bacon, that's going to be fine too. It is going to be fully cooked and safe to eat in the time that it takes the chicken to cook. It just won't be quite as crispy. And the solution is we're going to use the broiler just for a couple of minutes at the end of cooking to give that crispiness on the top, and that's going to be really nice. So that is totally fine. I'm going to explain how to do that. Now, the other kind of bacon, that thick cut bacon, you do not want to use that here. It is not going to get nice and crispy around the chicken. And actually, I actually find it kind of hard to wrap it around the chicken. It's kind of thick and doesn't like stick to itself properly, stick to the chicken properly. So there's that. And then it releases a lot of fat out of it as it's cooking. It's rendering that fat. And then the chicken is kind of sitting in a puddle of grease as it cooks. And you don't want that really. So no thick cut bacon here. Okay, so you've got your chicken, you've got your bacon ready to go, but if you want to, optionally, before you wrap the bacon around the chicken, you can do a spice rub. Oh, I should have said the oven should be preheating at 425 degrees Fahrenheit all this time, and that is a little bit higher than I normally cook chicken, but that's because we are trying to crisp that bacon up, so you need that higher temperature. So oven is preheating to 425. You've got your chicken cut on the diagonal if it needed to be. Your thighs are in bundles if you're using thighs, and your bacon is ready to go. You've chosen the right thickness, and you can make the optional seasoning blend that's going on the chicken. And that is made up of a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of paprika. I prefer smoked here. It adds such a beautiful complement to the smokiness of the bacon, but just plain sweet paprika would be fine. I wouldn't use like hot paprika. I don't think you want the heat in this recipe, but if you like it, go for it. And then 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix that up. And then we're doing this with 4 of those 6 to 7 ounce boneless, skinless chicken breasts, or 4 to 6 chicken thighs. And you are rubbing that spice mix all around it. I would probably put the spice mix in a big bowl when I'm mixing it in the first place, and then add my my chicken to that and just toss it all around to coat. And then we're going to wrap that bacon around the chicken. A lot of recipes that I've seen have you use a toothpick to secure the bacon in place. I don't find that it's necessary. The bacon just kind of sticks to the chicken. So that works for me. Now, if you're using 2 slices of bacon per piece of chicken, you're going to have fully covered pieces of chicken where all the chicken is covered in one single layer of bacon. If you use 1 slice of bacon per chicken, you're going to have almost like a striping effect where the bacon is winding around, but you can see the chicken through. You see what I mean? So that is up to you. I'm going to explain it as though you're using the 2 slices. You're going to start by putting one end of a strip of bacon underneath one end of the chicken breast, and then you're just winding it around so that it doesn't overlap on itself, but it's kind of like touching the sides of itself. You see what I mean? And then when you get all the way finished with that strip of bacon, you start another strip overlapping them very slightly at their ends, the end of the first strip to the beginning of the first strip, and continue winding around so that they're not overlapping, and then you end up with this fully covered chicken breast. Like I said, I find that the bacon just kind of sticks in place, and then as it's cooking, it renders that fat and it contracts and holds itself in place. I don't need the toothpick, but if it's not working for you, go ahead and put the toothpick in there. Now, your chicken is wrapped in bacon. You're going to line a baking sheet with aluminum foil and give it a spray with cooking spray, or lightly oil it with some kind of cooking oil. That's just going to stop that bacon from sticking on the pan. And then you're putting the chicken on that pan, and it's going into that 425 degree Fahrenheit oven. Now, I've been lately really loving my thermometer probe that can go in the oven, but has the temperature outside of the oven on a little magnet that sticks to the outside of my oven. It's brilliant. It costs like $15. I will link to it in the show notes. I got it on Amazon. I love it. I stick it into maybe like the thickest part of one of the pieces of chicken, and then the wire comes out of the oven, and then the thermometer reading is outside of the oven, and I can watch it. You can do that, or you can use an instant read thermometer and just, you're going to start checking it at about 15 minutes. Now, I'm going to tell you, the recipe is written to get the chicken to 165 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven, because that is just a safety thing. And I often have my recipes with the most safe, foolproof temperatures inside of them, but I actually don't cook it that far myself when I'm doing it. What I'm doing is I'm watching for 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And when it gets to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, I assess the bacon. If it is getting nice and crispy, then I just continue to cook it until it's at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and then take it out and rest it for 5 minutes, and it's going to come up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit in those 5 minutes. Now, if at that 150 degree Fahrenheit mark, the bacon does not seem to be crisping up, this is when I would turn on the broiler, and I would actually take out my thermometer probe because I'm not sure if it can handle that intense heat. But yeah, I turn on the broiler. I want the top of the bacon, that top piece of the chicken that has the bacon on, to be about 5 to 6 inches from the heat source, from the broiler on the top, and I'm broiling it until it is nice and crispy. Keep your eye on it the whole time because it can really start to burn very quickly, and that is going to finish crisping it nicely and probably have it up to temperature. Pull it out when it's crisp and double check that that temperature is 165 degrees Fahrenheit before you eat it. I like to slice this before serving it or serve it whole. Either way is perfectly fine. I hope this recipe adds some specialness to the middle of your week. I will put the link to the recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is August 7th of 2024. The other place you can get the link is in the Facebook group for this podcast. I post the recipe of the day link there every single day, 7 days a week, so you can always find what I'm talking about. You can join that group at facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. I look forward to seeing you there. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.